I'm the founder of Parcel Locker Central. I'm coming from the country where 80% of the parcels are delivered through parcel lockers. So it's possible. I can sort of assure you from my own experience, it's possible, and I'm truly hoping that this is going to be the future of every country. So I believe in out of home, and so do all of my fellow panelists, as far as I know, quite a bit big believers on that. So we have 1 hour here. We have 5 people talking. We have 4 presentations, and we are doing the presentations one by one, and then we are having discussion on the topic. So, and without any ado, I would like to introduce Håvard Femtehel from Postbringen. He's the lead of the parcel locker development, talking about the innovation in their country.
Yes. So hi, so kind of you all to come to listen to me and to us. I hope you find it interesting. We'll do as best we can. I thought I should just do 1 minute of saying where we come from in Norway. If you look at 2011 numbers there on the graph, we were a out-of-home country. Everyone was going to the post office or to the Pudo to pick up their parcels, and we had 2% home delivery, classical meeting people in the evening delivering the parcels. Then 15 years later, we have half of the volume is mailbox delivery. It's my old baby, so I really like that part. It's highly efficient, done by the posties, and it's delivered sort of close to almost at your home. And then we have the other half of the volume in out of home, and the growth there is driven for the last 5 years by the parcel lockers, which I'm running in Norway, but I'm also supporting the rollout in Sweden and Denmark. I think the main takeaway here is sort of that chunk in the middle. It's unattended delivery that is winning. We have 2/3 being in parcel lockers or in the mailbox at your home, and we deliver it efficiently when we want to or during daytime, and then people pick it up when they come from work. And you don't have to meet and greet, you don't have to look at the opening hours of a Pudo or being in house arrest for your home delivery. This slide is already old. We have 7,600 pickup points in Scandinavia. We are sort of slowly reducing a little bit on the man points, and we have doing a quick rollout in Sweden. And as you see, we have now 4 traditional post offices in Norway, which we own and have run by our own employees. Everything else is run by third parties or lockers. Our rollout strategy in Norway is, this is Oslo, where I live. 2019, we had the Pudos and the post offices, and then we started rolling out the parcel lockers. And the whole game here is to get closer to people. We have a few points with overlaps. Basically, we using this as a integrated networks. A little less than half the Norwegian people still have a Pudo as their closest point of pickup, and a little over half the population have parcel lockers as their closest point of pickup. So I can talk about 2,000, 2,100 lockers, but in reality, it's 3,800 pickup points in Norway. And I think if you look at what people want, they want the mailbox delivery. It's the easiest, it's almost home, you don't have to carry things anyway, but it's limited by size. And if we go above that size, we lose sort of the efficiency of the delivery, but we still have the keys, we can go into the apartment building and leaving it at the doormat, if it's too big for the box. Then we have the parcel lockers that people love. And then we have home delivery and pickup points that people think are okay. They're good. But top of the pops is the mailbox delivery. And if we look at the operational aspects, and look it from sort of the operational perspective and not outside in from the customers, we really love delivering things to the mailbox. We have still good synergies with delivery to the mailbox together with letters. We're doing letters 2.5 days a week, alternating days, and in 16 months we will be doing 1 day a week probably with letters. And then we will do mailbox packet delivery 5 times a week or 6 times a week in the sort of the picture you saw of the capital area, and then it would slim down to probably 1 day a week in the rural areas. Then we have the parcel lockers, which are convenient and have high synergies with the van deliveries, the B2B parcels. Then we like the pickup points, which is mostly van or lorry delivery with roll cages to almost all of them, sort of large points, with sort of not very flexible for us, so it's a bit stiff and costly. And then we have the home delivery, which is a small operations with low density and a lot of complexity. And I think from a operational perspective, I think there's the consolidation factors I think we'll all be talking a bit about today. We have 2.5 million doorsteps, but we only have 800,000 mailbox, because a lot of them are they're grouped together at the bottom of the stairs. They're grouped together sort of in a living area. So we get good consolidation. So we get a sort of measurable MPD factor also for the packet delivery. Then we had the parcel locker, which we are running with good synergies at 2,000 and the pickup points at 1,500-1,600 points. I thought that is the very, very fast version of what we are doing in Norway, and I think I'll just leave the floor for the next speaker.
Thank you so much. The next speaker will be Amanda Martinez from the Hubbox, and she's going to talk about integrations and enabling out-of-home delivery. So the floor is yours, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay. I think the interesting discussion will be on the panel when we all sit together and talk about out of home. But just to give a little bit of context of what Hubbox does in this space so that the research I talk about makes sense in this context, I'll just go over kind of where we sit in out of home. So we do one thing at Hubbox. We provide the front end software that goes into an online retailer's checkout that lets their shoppers choose out of home as a delivery option and then select their pickup point. We have an office in Atlanta and in London. We're a London-based company. We've been developing this software for the last 8 or 9 years. So what that means is that we're compatible across all e-commerce sites. So we say 99% of sites. So this is no matter what e-commerce platform you're on, or if a retailer has a custom-built site or an iOS or Android app, we have an SDK for that. So what that 8 or 9 years of development has done is make us compatible within a checkout. Because even if you have, say, a Shopify app or some sort of widget or plugin, there's still so many other pieces of the checkout that fit into that can kind of make that compatibility not work when you actually plug it in. So we say 99% compatible, and then there's a lot of overlooked features when it comes to putting this option into a checkout page. So, for example, if an online retailer wants to offer buy online and pick up in store, and they want to be able to offer their stores within that interface, we can enable that. If they have a subscription-based service, which kind of can mess up things at the payment method and mess up the addressing because of how complex subscription-based services can be at checkout, we have compatibility for that. And then they have a store where they want to geofence that store off and not offer any locations around that store because they don't want to drive foot traffic away from it. These are kind of all things baked into that software development. And this is the fun part, the sexy part. This is about the UX and how this looks and feels at checkout. So we have a team of 5 UX researchers and developers that just sit here and try to design it in a way that drives more people to choose that at checkout. So there's, having a ton of locations, but then how you present those locations to make them look and feel convenient in an interface is something that we're constantly working on. And hopefully we can talk a little bit about this research and what we're seeing in different markets with what makes people choose pickup. Of course, this is across multiple language capabilities. And then this UX is shown in our performance. So the compatibility piece, I think from time to signing an online retailer to getting them live with this kind of interface in their checkout that's fully functioning, like you saw on the screens before, the shortest time has been 16 hours for us. And then in the UK, which is now growing a lot in out-of-home, but when Hubbox first started was definitely in the single digits, we've seen UK retailers interact with this interface and getting up to 53% in what we call take rate, which is the number of people that are choosing this option at checkout over home delivery. This is just a little bit of information about why we're constantly developing. So we're doing A/B testing almost on a weekly basis, but then our tech team is also having to maintain version controls of all these different applications within our software suite. And that's because Shopify, all these platforms make changes, on a monthly basis. And so you need to keep the software up to date or it just doesn't work after a little bit of time. So that's how we fit in with online retailers. With carriers, it's very much a partnership. So all the carriers we work with have some sort of API, location feed of all their locations. Then it's really up to the retailer to go and build that front-end experience before they can even pull those list of locations through that API feed. So what we do is we provide our carrier partners with this differentiator so they can go to their online retailers or their shippers and say, okay, here's your out-of-home rates. They have this relationship with them for home delivery and out-of-home or only one or the other. They can also say, and we can get this live in your checkout and it can look this way and this is powered by Hubbox. So we work with retailers of all sizes, like Macy's and Gap in the US, all the way down to smaller SMEs that have smaller sites. Just started working with Nespresso, work with Gymshark and Hoka and Ugg Boots and others. So this is performing very well and working with different networks across Europe, UK, and the US as well. So.
Thank you, Amanda. And the next speaker is going to be Thomas Feltli from Swiss Post, and it's extremely interesting company because they are holding a very big share in the country's delivery market as such. So please.
Thank you very much. It's amazing. We are in an exhibition about post and parcels, and one of 3 halls is only about lockers. So lockers seems to be a very hot topic, and I will present you in the next few minutes our view on this topic because we are writing now a new strategy on that. And with the in cooperation with Connect to Post, we also make a small survey. Perhaps you were also in one of the interviews. One of the most important things we saw that locker out-of-home network has to be on the specific condition of a country or an area. So I will explain why we look a little bit different on those concepts. At first, the question: what's the playfield? Why on what we're talking about? We see at the end it's all about distance. How long does it take to get a parcel? And behind that we see those 3 forces. The first force, the customer. Customer wants the parcel at home. If the quality is right, and if the security is also there, that the parcel won't get away. Second, from an operational view, yes, each consolidation points gives less cost. So it's interesting to create a local network as broad as possible. But on the other side, as dense your network is, as higher your investment costs, because you have a lot of lockers to get and to install. And the fourth perhaps especially in Switzerland, we have a major interest in cities and governments about parcel distribution, and they want parcels out of the areas, out of the city. So they are very interested in all kinds of consolidation. So now the frame conditions of the Swiss Post. Yes, we have a unique postal market because we do have infrastructure in front of every home by law. It's not only the letterbox, it's a milk box, a small compartment where you can put in parcels. So that in consequence gets us a first delivery rate of about 98%. So and that's the frame condition where would be hard to go back for our customers from a doorstep distribution to some lockers. But on the other side, as I said, we have a pressure on the all about city logistics, my main topic, from the governmental side. So what we do now, and now we are talking about at the end we are talking about the infrastructure, the distribution infrastructure, and you see there on the left side really the infrastructure at home, the existing milk box. But what we realized that there more and more in larger apartment complexes there are some kind of lockers, but owned by real estate and not by parcel companies. They are also smart, they are intelligent, they are digital. And our main strategy is now to integrate or to communicate with those kind of lockers. So we get our consolidation point, we get our security, we have more capacities because we have different sizes of compartments, and it's really near home. It's not out of home, it's near the home, 50 meters slipper distance, really slipper distance, and that will be our main focus. The technology behind it's the same. It's the business case that's different. At the other side, out of home is something that we also have to look about, but as option for our customers. So and if it's an option, there's one major point for lockers, no 3 points. It's place, place, and place. And to get the best place in areas where people are, they are often government owned, those places, those areas. So our strategy, the second part of the strategy, that we will open up our existing locker network to third party in cooperation with governments, so that there will be only one locker network at the end. Behind that, we will establish a digital layer of all kinds of lockers, residential owned or owned by third, so that we get really an all overview about that. That's the conclusion, that we really focus now on those near home systems. We will establish a standard with all producers in Switzerland, so that we will connect with all those operational systems. So at the end, what's the conclusion? Look at the customer needs. The customer wants it at home, and see it as a system, as a really system with different partners in it. It's not only the postal organization, it's the government. There are the producers, as we have also someone in there. And at the end, we have to create a vision where convenience and efficiency comes together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. So the next speaker is Christoph Knogler. He's the CEO of KEBA, and for those who doesn't know, KEBA built the first parcel locker years ago. So we are going to the roots of the parcel lockers today. So Christoph, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andre. You said it in the beginning, we're really fascinated by out of home. Thomas just said it, there is a full exhibition full of parcel locker makers. We are really committed to that industry. but our roots are somewhere else. Who of you knows KEBA, by the way? Give me a sign. Who of you heard KEBA before? Right. We are one of the people that were right from the beginning together with DHL in the parcel locker business. Our roots, if we look at the company, and I'm trying to click here, yeah, it works. Our roots are heading back or going back to the 60s. We're an automation company started by 2 engineers actually. Nowadays we are more than 2,000 people that are working from Austria, but from also 27 other locations in 16 countries in the world to bring automation in different use cases. This is basically what we do. We invest a lot in R&D, 17% of our revenue, and I will show you some examples of how we do that with parcel lockers. Our mission, and this is always the idea behind everything we do, is to make the world of work and life easier. This is kind of our purpose as a company, fits very well in the automation industry, to automate things, but certainly in the topic of delivery, also in parcel lockers. How is KEBA structured? We do a lot in the industry space. We do a lot in the energy space, charging of EVs, for instance. And then there is a part of KEBA that is handover automation. And I marked it here in green. This is the part logistics automation where we work on parcel lockers. We do that since 25 years. Today at 3 o'clock, all of you, I want to invite you to our booth, which is booth 11. In booth number 410 in hall number 11, we celebrate 25 years of making parcel lockers. And it wasn't easy in the beginning because when you imagine there was suddenly a smart post box available in urban areas, we had to develop customers. We had to make customers understand what parcel lockers actually are, that this is a new way of having infrastructure for moving boxes, for returning boxes, for delivering boxes. And I think this is what makes us strong today, that we have this experience that basically nobody can take away from us anymore. We're in the 10th generation of building parcel lockers, and all the generations before always work somewhat incremental innovation, incremental development. So I believe that we are a good partner to most of the companies. One of them is sitting right here in the panel in Switzerland. What is strategically important to us? I want to use that stage today to say it's not only about great systems. Quality and reliability is one thing. That is the basis. But nowadays, it's also about something, especially here in Europe, that is sovereignty. That is building things local for local. That is looking after sustainable things. We are currently in a situation in many industries where we need to decide whether we go with technology from somewhere else in the world, or we go with our own technology, our own industry that basically in the end of the day saves jobs here in Europe. And I think this is a very important thing we need to do for the generations to come. I say that as a company that drives production also in China, but not for things that we do in Europe. Local for local. China for China, Europe for Europe. And I think this is something that especially at this time, infrastructure needs to decide whether we go Asian or whether we are European. And I just want to show this with some nice pictures because then you can feel it a little bit more what it means to be sovereign. It means to have engineers and production people in Europe. Not only in Austria, where we are originally coming from, but in whole over Europe. And we are really proud to do that, especially in KEBA Logistics Automation, where we do that since 25 years. What is strategically important to develop lockers? It is actually important to understand your personas. It's important to understand who you do that for. And there is not only the average person that in the end of the day takes the parcel in e-commerce, but there are a lot of more people that you need to take care of when you do your studies. You have the maintenance technicians, you have the installers, you have the managers in the operations in the background, and you also have the niches where, for instance, people with a handicap, also young people, also the children that probably play around with those lockers also play a role. And this is what I believe as KEBA we do a little bit differently. We are working with those people and we are very much in active dialogue with institutions, for instance, for handicapped people on the one hand side, but also with other people and managers that are running like operations. Yeah, so we are very, very closely connected to them when we actually develop our new generations. The latest generation, and these are my last slide, is called KEBA Locksmate. You can see it at our booth. It's an autonomous system. We are now for the first time coming with batteries, with PV, and so on. But the major thing here is to understand the needs for the installers, because installation takes a lot of time. And I want to show you here on the slide, on the left-hand side, how it now works with autonomous lockers, and on the right-hand side, how it works with traditional lockers. You can see on the left-hand side, you basically nowadays, you bring some lockers to an installation site, and in 15 minutes, you can be online if you have proper processes. On the right-hand side, you have to do a basement first, and then you need to wait, and then you need to connect cables and electricity and so on. And this average time can take up to 16 hours. So 15 minutes against 16 hours in terms of installation. And we believe this is very much customer-centric, very much customer-orientated to go down that path. Last slide is about modularity and flexibility as well. When it comes to software, we do software and hardware engineering, and software is always a difficult thing because it can quickly become very, very complicated. In the latest generation, we decided to go only modular, and modular means if there is a change in a process, for instance, here in this example, holiday season is coming and there should be another screen on the locker displayed after a certain process step, then nowadays we do that with just click, drag and drop, and then you can adjust your system easily. This is in the sense of operators actually to just easier and quicker can able to adjust systems as a whole. Our goal in the end of the day is TCO. So not only looking at the first-time investment, but looking at the complete package, how long it takes to install a locker and how it is to maintain a locker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christoph. The last panelist is Adam Tomczak from Allegro. So welcome to the stage also for you. And if you will take seat, we will start with you exactly because you are coming from Allegro. Allegro is sort of a European version of Amazon, a marketplace leading one in Europe. Can you briefly describe for the viewers what is Allegro, just to be aware?
Okay, so Allegro marketplace, significantly different than Amazon, although it starts with the same letter. We are the biggest e-commerce player of European origin in the world. We're based in Poland. The company was started 25 years ago, and our business is connecting sellers and buyers. We also connect into our full ecosystem carriers, so partners who make the deliveries, and we also have our own delivery capability in parts of Poland as well as the Czech Republic. And we, by the end of this year, will have roughly 9,000 of our own APMs deployed. They're called one boxes, deployed in Poland, where roughly 8,000 will be, and around 1,000 in the Czech Republic. So our core business is marketplace sales, but we also try to enhance the customer experience and merchant experience by providing better logistics for the delivery process as well.
So thank you for that, and really looking for this panel discussion. But I will go to Amanda first, and because your company is present in US, please tell us what's wrong with the Americans. Why don't they adopt lockers?
I mean, we're seeing more adoption now. There's a lot of porch piracy, as we call it in the US. There's a lot of fraudulent porch piracy as well. So retailers are losing out on millions every year on these fraudulent claims of porch piracy and actual porch piracy. We work with UPS there, who's really trying to get ahead of this. So in the US is massive, right? So when you talk about the US market, I mean, Manhattan is very different than Los Angeles or where I'm from in Mississippi. Everyone's just used to driving everywhere. Everyone has a car. But people are getting more used to picking up their groceries, ordering their groceries online and picking them up in their car. So I think UPS wanted to get ahead of this, and they've done really well because in the US you have all of these surcharges for home delivery. When you do a delivery to an out-of-home, to an access point, as UPS calls them, you don't have any of these surcharges. So retailers are saying, oh, wow, actually, you know, with having to cut cost and with all of the tariffs coming, you know, the tariffs in the US at the moment, this is a big cost cutting measure for them. But also just like here, millennials are also more inclined to go to a pickup point or to go to their local CVS, which is a drugstore, and pick up something. So when we first started integrating retailers in the US, we were seeing anywhere from 0.5% to 2% of people choosing this access point option at checkout. It's cheaper, so there is an incentive to do it because of that. But now we're seeing up to 8-10%, which is huge for the US. And what we've wrapped into the rule engine with our software for UPS is their scoring on the risk of theft for an address based on their historical data. So they can offer that access point even cheaper than someone who doesn't score very high in a risk address sees it. So it's incentivizing people to choose that more. So we are seeing it really like start to pick up a little bit, probably where the UK was maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, this is fascinating. The UK example is very, very fascinating because, again, 4 years ago it was almost zero or some tries, but during last few years it has been exploded. But this all comes to the thesis. I heard it also from the panel many times that people want to have the parcels at their home. So, Thomas, this was your one of the theses. I'm coming from the market where 80% of the people choose out of home, not the home delivery. So my question isn't to challenge this thesis, but in your opinion, how do you see in Europe, how different are the countries? So one model is what you are using, but the other countries?
I gave 2 ifs on my thesis. The first one is the convenience or the quality. The quality has to be right on the home delivery. If the quality on home delivery does not fit for a customer, he's willing to get 500 meters, a kilometer to get the parcel. So that's the first if, and there we have different points of starting points on the different countries. And the second point and what we see, it's the security point. The future of living is our huge apartments where it has to be a security component in there to make sure that the parcel not goes away. And if these 2 conditions are cleared, yes, I stand to my thesis that the customer wants it at home. But as we see in the quality in other countries, and we are on 98% of quality. So for our customers, there is no go back to an out of home because the quality is on a level that you won't change the willingness of our customers. So, and that's the reason why I say that in different countries there are different starting points. In Eastern Europe, I thought that was really different in comparison to the Swiss, and so you have to look on the area you are install your network, and you have to build a strategy that fits on those frame conditions.
Adam, we both came from the eastern side of Europe. So what is your experience on that?
Poland is a significantly developed market in terms of parcel lockers. So it's locker land. Everyone's heard this expression. There's roughly 50,000 parcel lockers deployed all over the country. But I don't want to talk about Poland. I want to talk about the Czech Republic, which is a market in which we operate as well. And we started about 3 years ago. And when we started selling as Allegro.cz, 60% roughly of the deliveries were home delivery. 65%. So the customer there was definitely bring it to me. Fast forward 3 years later, 23% is going to home delivery. So if you look at what's changed, the parcel lockers just became more available. We came in with the, let's say, Polish mindset, and we said we want to promote, we want to incentivize customers to actually use parcel lockers from the networks that were available, whether it was DPD or DHL, PPL, or our competitor Alza. They had parcel locker networks developed, and we just said, customers, here you go, give it a try. You're talking about a massive switch within 3 years of customer behavior just because the market started promoting and giving that idea to the customer. I was in London also a year ago at Leaders in Logistics, and I was in a panel discussing with the DPD out of home director, and the thesis on that side was home delivery is here to stay. We've been like this for the past 500 years. No going back. The UK customer just wants it delivered home. Fast forward 1 year, everybody in the UK is talking about parcel lockers. And it's about convenience for the customer, but you have to have the customer try it out once. Once they try it out, there's no going back.
Just to add to Adam's point on that, what we see as far as our data and checkout backs that up as well. So in the UK, if we onboard a retailer and they have this option at checkout, maybe they start out 8% are choosing this at checkout. But then as those customers shop with that same retailer and they use it a few times, they end up choosing that 9 out of 10 times once they've experienced it. So it's once they've had a taste of it, they're more likely to come back and use it again. So then in 6 months, you may see that retailer have a take rate at checkout of 26%. And we've seen that big jump just from people getting used to it.
On our platform, it's more than 70% use parcel lockers. 70% of the customers use parcel lockers. So when you consider that we delivered in last year significantly over 500 million parcels in Poland alone, 70% of that, more than 70%, actually went to parcel lockers. That's a huge number.
But Howard, coming back to you, in a sense that your presentation said that the preferred method for both customers and you as operator is mailbox delivery.
Currently it is, yeah.
Currently, so, but could you please and there is also home delivery. What is the difference between mailbox delivery and home delivery?
I think what we call home delivery in Norway is sort of what was talked about, 6-7 years ago as the home delivery revolution. Everybody started, had a startup which was a tech company. It was not the logistics or driver company. And then you had sort of got onto the gig economy with people driving and delivering parcels, and you had excellent apps, excellent customer journeys. You saw where the driver was, you knew when was the next stop. And that didn't happen in Norway. We couldn't handle it. We made it. We have it's really nice for those small 2%, but we couldn't handle the volumes with that during the COVID. So, and we had, by a bit of luck, we were ready to take huge volumes with the packet service, and then we started doing the parcel lockers. And Christoph, you were talking about sort of who's making things. A lot of those packets are from Chinese platforms.
Do you see also from manufacturer point of view delivering lockers to out of home differences in markets? Some markets are more eager to adopt because I know you are very, very present in Baltics, for instance, and in Southern Europe also. Do you feel difference in markets?
We mentioned that, or I mentioned that before. We started 25 years ago, and the current figures are 35,000 lockers, 2.7 million compartments, and delivered to the US, mainly to Europe, but also down to Australia. So we work with a lot of network operators, and we learned that most of them have different takes on the topic, sometimes very traditional, sometimes very innovative. But what is always the same thing is availability creates demand. That is so beautiful in that industry. Once the network is out there and people, learn to use it and learn to take advantage of it, then automatically there is adaptation and there is more demand. And we see some networks that grew faster than the demand actually was, especially in Eastern Europe. We saw some networks where the demand was higher than the availability of lockers. So I can fully agree to all what you said. There are different takes, but I'm 100% sure that if you invest in that infrastructure, it will be used by people because it is a matter of convenience. And I think convenience, in the end of the day, this is what we see across the globe, always wins. Sometimes convenience also means that the postman takes the box in front of the doorstep and you find it there when you come home. Then the question is this safe? Yeah? Is this the way we want to do things in 2025? This can also be convenience. But once you're used to this process, on the way home, driving by a locker, or maybe having a locker directly at the site where you work, then you will use it. So
I will definitely sign that statement that convenience wins, but I think that in every country the convenience definition is a bit different. So that's why this is not the universal law. But Amanda, your company, your product is in a crossroad where customers are deciding what option to choose when they choose delivery, when it is possible to choose. But what drives people to prefer out-of-home option at all?
Yeah, I mean the top two things are price and convenience, right? If it's a cheaper option, they're more likely to choose it. If it's a more convenient option because it's going to be delivered the next day, for example, in the UK with DPD next day ship-to-shop delivery, or it's going to be delivered on a day when they're not home and then they need that option. So it's all about that price convenience. Those two things go hand in hand. So that's obvious, right? What we try to do is user test on how we word things, how we present things, to create more of a perception of proximity or a perception of convenience. So we'll do things like showing what amenities are around each location. We'll show photos of that location. So in their mind, they already know, oh, that's the corner shop or the kiosk around the corner. I know that location. And it feels closer to them than maybe if they just saw, a pin on a map. We play around with things like the size of the pins on the map, how we word the incentives that we list under the ship-to-shop option when it comes to checkout. So it depends on vertical as well. It depends on country. So in some countries, we see a little bit of an uptake if we talk about it as a green alternative, or if we talk about it as a safe alternative in the US. So it's really kind of knowing the market and knowing how to present that for that vertical and that market. So with some retailers that are maybe fast fashion brands, and we know it's a younger demographic, we know that we need to play around with that UX a little bit, and then just constantly testing that to see what that does to that rate at checkout.
But let's dig into this one expression you had, the green option, green delivery. This is usually connected to out of home, but I would like to ask all of you now, what about your opinion, in a sense that yes, we think green and we think that customers are ready to pay for the greener option, but do you actually have the experience that customers are willing to pay additional 10 cents for green option? Howard?
There is not a lot of customers, as in e-tailers, paying extra. I think for a few years there was only one customer. I can't tell you the name, but it's a Swedish sort of furniture thing. They were the only one who were really good at it and willing to pay. Not too much, obviously. But I think this is one of the problems we're having, is that you would have the municipalities or the authorities saying that there's so many vans, there's too much driving around town. We should consolidate, make it a utility for everyone. You should share the capacity, and in a sense that is correct. And then you should end up with local monopolies. That is sort of where that argument ends. Yeah. We did a very good project with some researchers and municipalities near Oslo, where we had full control of all traffic in an area, and then we documented that my parcel lockers and also the mailbox delivery, it substitutes a lot of private traffic, and we had good data, not just sort of arguments. And I think that is one of the things we as an industry should be better to talk about. How people don't have to own a car, they don't have to take the car out of the garage, they can drop the second car if they use our services. And then we work on using nice, softer vehicles, like I think you showed the Q-Birds, smaller ones. Not always driving around in the biggest, most rusty vans you could do, but doing it electric, soft. I think that is what we should do as an industry.
And Thomas, what is your take on that?
The other thing, two things. The other thing is to see how large is really the postal traffic in a city. And there are not a few numbers, but we know there's a study of Austria. 0.8% of the traffic in the city is related to the postal traffic. So 99% are other traffic. And the second question, if it is really green to establish lockers, at the end, do you reduce traffic? Yes, you reduce traffic on the operation side, but if the customer gets the parcel with the car, you do not gain a much. But at the end, what my experience is, that's a belief in governmental organizations that lockers will save the problem of traffic in the city, but in the fact it isn't. So, and I'm with you. There we have a huge communication issue. How we can enter in a dialogue with the authorities to find solutions where we really can reduce traffic, and not installing lockers and hoping that it will be good at the end.
Christoph, your company colors are light green or spring green, and this is incorporated your brand visuals also. And I understand that your company is really concerned about that topic. So you believe that automated out-of-home delivery is sustainable way?
Absolutely. Well, our take is sustainability is something that you have to actually make a decision for, because it will never be the cheapest option. And this comes back then to corporate values. If you say that sustainability and doing things local for local and not going for the cheapest option that is usually an Asian option, then you need to actively decide for that, like we have to do it with our own suppliers. For me personally, and for us as a company, the whole topic of parcel lockers is a step in the right direction, with the right network and the right locations. Slipper distance was already mentioned, and of course a combination with electric vehicles and things like that. I think network operators can make a significant difference. What we experience from European operators is very, very much that the topic of sustainability and how the lockers are made, this makes a difference. I always say there is a lot of competition, and competition is very good. If there wouldn't be so much competition, I think the level of innovation would not be where it is right now. So I think competition is generally good. Where we are very much concerned is if suddenly European brands that are not successful with their own products, lockers in that specific case, decide to give up their European manufacturing and development and just buy Chinese lockers, put their brand name on and sell it under that brand. Because in the end of the day, what we need in Europe is industrial backbone. Otherwise, we will be beautiful postcard motifs for Chinese tourists in all the nice cities. And in Austria, we have the Alps, beautiful. But if we have no industry, there will be not enough tax. And without the tax, there will not be enough money for our social systems. And therefore, I always say sustainability is not just the nice green color, but it comes down to values and a mindset of, do we want to have industry in Europe and be local for local, or do we want to just go for the maximum profit and give up all our values?
You are very convincing. I almost believe you.
Hopefully not almost.
Adam.
So the whole discussion about sustainability in terms of parcel lockers is the right discussion, and we're doing studies, and we can demonstrate that it does in fact cut down on the CO2 footprint. However, there's another discussion that is spurred on by the fact that you have so many lockers deployed around cities, and it's about clutter, because parcel lockers are becoming part of a lot of cities' urban landscape. And in Poland, Central and Eastern Europe, you can have a corner where you have 4, 5, or 6 different parcel lockers. So now the next question is, well, what about the people that actually live around there when the drivers who don't have electric vehicles come and start to park in front of the parcel lockers to get all the parcels in or out? And some big operators actually have 2, 3, 4 drop-offs and pickups a day. So then you have congestion of vans with the exhaust coming out, and you have people complaining about that, and then you have city governments wanting to regulate this. So lockers are great. We're absolute firm believers in the future of parcel lockers, but when you look at sustainability, it's not just the production, and it's not, as you said, 0.8% of the vehicle traffic. It's what actually comes afterwards that we also have to look at. And there's a discussion on the EU level in terms of regulation right now about regulating out-of-home networks and parcel lockers. And I think this is something that we as an industry need to be very conscious of and really take part in terms of the dialogue, because right now parcel lockers are not seen as part of the postal supply chain. They're just pieces of furniture that happen to be on the streets. But they are, in fact, the last mile for delivery. So this discussion and how they're going to be regulated in terms of local laws or EU laws needs to be also really closely monitored by everyone that's in this ecosystem. So pretty much everyone in this room.
I do agree that the regulations are coming and coming big, and this should be actually the topic of the separate discussion. We can't dig into that today, but going back to the whole 11, this is full of lockers, and I really love the situation. but how do you feel it? Is it too much already? How do you feel as a company that there are so many parcel locker manufacturers? Is it a nice thing for you, or is it a problem to choose between them?
That is actually what I'm doing these days. So currently it's a challenge, but I think it's always healthy to have an industry that are supporting sort of our business, and then there are several suppliers. There are perhaps a bit too many. I can't imagine us working with more than 2 or 3 suppliers, at least if we need to use their software as well. If we have sort of a separate software a layer, then we probably could start buying lockers as sort of hardware the same way we're buying PCs. I don't think Christoph is that is not what you want, I think.
I wouldn't support it too much.
No.
Amanda, you are also, from one hand, you are integrating the e-shop sites, but on the other hand, you are also integrating the locker and manufacturers. Do you feel there are a problem? There is no standards. Soon with Thomas, we are going to be talking about producing those standards. Is it the problem, the variety of hardware and also software versions?
Yeah, I mean, we're mostly working with carriers, right? So, and integrating all of their locations, whether it's lockers or pickup points and corner shops. So for us, all we need to enable that and checkout is a location feed. So it doesn't really impact Hubbox and what we're doing. Now, if you look at other markets, like we're looking into Asia, for example, and we have locker companies that are coming specifically to us and say we want to integrate our locker company directly into the checkout, and then we'll kind of handle the relationship with our carrier partners. Now, that's another dynamic that we're exploring, and in those markets, there's not really room for more than a handful, but that's not on the manufacturing side, that's just on the branding side, right? To be able to offer, density of choice and checkout.
Thomas, you are creating the standards in your country for data exchange, so that the real interoperability will come. This is the ideal situation to have variety of manufacturers and.
Yeah, but there we are talking about those residential lockers. We separate the packing stations, the locker where everyone can get his parcel, and the lockers where really only the designated residents can get it. I mean, we are the only one who's running the packing station in Switzerland with 2 suppliers. One is here. But the huge amount and the potential we see are in those residential lockers. And that's what surprised me. In the whole 11, there are only 2 producers of residential lockers, and the rest packing stations. And therefore, for those packing stations, we try to establish a standard that everyone who produces lockers for residential can connect with our core system, and in this moment you have the same customer experience as on a packing station, but in front of your house. That's the main idea, and we also seen that at the moment we are running about 300 packing station from KEBA in Switzerland, but there's 2,000 of residential lockers already existing, and we didn't realize that they are smart, they are digital, but they are completely running standalone, and to connect them, that's a huge potential that we see in developing the out-of-home or near-home delivery system.
Christoph, this is touching you very deeply, the competition side. Do you feel that there are too much manufacturers in Europe?
Well, that's a difficult question. What is too much? I believe that coexistence of innovative companies always makes sense. I think this is good for the customer, good for the partners, that there is some kind of challenge over new ideas, but also over costs and over better manufacturing technologies in order to bring costs down and so on. So I believe it is useful to have good competitors. We saw over these 25 years, we saw many come. The entry barriers are not too high, some coming from the software side, some coming from the hardware side, some who did completely different things and thought this is a huge market that is growing. So their McKinsey's or other consultants told them, let's get into it. So we saw lots of newcomers, and we respect all of that. Where we are critical is if companies are not successful and then, like I said before, throw away their own technology to bring in the Chinese players, where there is, of course, a huge market in China. So there is a lot of scaling there. But to be honest, to put that in containers on ships to bring it to Europe, there's lots of like air that is shipped inside these compartments. For us, this is against our values. And we run production in China. We would never do that. So I think that those players are the toxic ones. Are there too many? I'm not sure. There will be consolidation. We will make sure that we will remain and try to do that with just being innovative and looking at our costs. Will the market be there in 10 years from now? We believe yes. Will it look a little bit differently, and will there be new players or other players? We believe yes. And will the US be a huge market to get into because there is something really new? We believe yes. So I think there will be a lot of things to do also for the existing players.
I can say that in the U.S., the U.S. Postal Service they're doing it city by city, but they're starting to install lockers in post offices, which are everywhere. And I don't think they have that strategy fully fleshed out yet, but they are starting to prepare the network for it.
So now it's the time to get into it.
Yeah, last December I did a prediction for this year, and one of them was that the U.S. market will adopt lockers this year, but I have to renew it. Adam.
Go to Denver and some of these.
We can do a little bit of a bet if you like.
Yeah, Adam. There are a lot of locker manufacturers, but Allegro is still developing their own lockers.
Well, we have a partner who's from whom we buy, and we're here also looking at other companies, other suppliers for this. What we do ourselves is the software. And I think this is, to your point, what you just mentioned, Thomas, about the parcel lockers and the packing stations not communicating with one another. From our perspective as a marketplace, as an e-retailer, I guess you could say, the most important thing is to give the customer convenience and choice. Yep. And what we're developing is a system whereby if I, as a customer, order online and I choose locker from operator A, but then decide, well, you know what, I'd rather pick it up from operator B at a different locker, I would like to have that chance for that parcel to somehow communicate and be transferred from one operator to another. And we're doing this as part of a program. It's called Allegro Delivery, where we're actually linking carriers together under one umbrella so that there is this interoperability on a software and physical sense. And we see that customers really, really appreciate this. So lockers that actually, or systems that can communicate between one another, operators who can take parcels and switch them around, this is what the customer wants, and that's the convenience element. And the more competitors there are, the more innovation there is. So, yeah, we're for that.
So thank you very much. I think our time is over now, but this is not the beginning. Those people are here in the exhibition for the whole day. If you have something to ask from them, I'm sure they are willing to explain. They stand much more. And thank you here, everybody, for listening. And I wish you only lockers first.